I stood beneath the glass ceiling of my high-rise penthouse, watching the rain pelt the windows like it had a personal vendetta. The city lights shimmered, distorted in the droplets, and yet all I could think about was her. The one I let go. The one I lost, not just to distance, not just to circumstance, but to my own ambition. 8 years ago, I was a nobody. And I mean that in the rawest sense of the word. No money, no name, no direction, just a rusted-out sedan, a duffel bag of broken dreams, and a stubborn hope that refused to die. My family had disowned me after I dropped out of college to pursue a startup no one believed in. Even she warned me. She begged me to stay grounded, to build slowly, safely. But I was on fire back then, reckless, obsessive, hungry. I didn't realize I was chasing validation more than success. Let me take you back to where it all began. I was 24 when I moved into a one-bedroom apartment above a rundown diner in East Brooklyn. Rent was cheap, and the ceiling leaked, but the Wi-Fi worked, and that's all I needed. I spent my days coding and my nights delivering food on a bike to survive. I was building a platform, something I believed could revolutionize how small businesses access data. I called it PulseGrid. My bank account hovered around negative most days. I lived off peanut butter sandwiches and black coffee. Still, I kept pushing. Failure wasn't a setback, it was a checkpoint. Every no I heard taught me where my blind spots were. I took notes after every investor rejection, rewrote pitches at 2 a.m., and split ramen with strangers who became teammates. We weren't building an app. We were building a legacy. But in chasing that vision, I neglected something priceless. Her name was Liana. She was my anchor when the storm got violent. She kept me sane when the world didn't. She brought light into rooms I only saw darkness in. But love has its limits when it's constantly competing with obsession. I remember the night everything unraveled. She stood at the threshold of my apartment, eyes glistening, voice trembling. "You're losing yourself," she whispered. "And I'm losing you." I didn't fight for her. I didn't chase her down. I told myself if she couldn't handle my grind, she didn't deserve my success. But it wasn't her who gave up. It was me. The years after she left were brutal. I went bankrupt twice, slept in my car, watched my best friend walk away with my original idea and millions in seed funding. There were days I considered giving it all up, moving back home, apologizing to my parents, settling into a life of quiet regret. But something in me refused. I rebuilt from scratch. Smarter. Slower. I surrounded myself with people who challenged me, not just cheered me on. I studied the failures, not just the victories. I learned emotional intelligence, not just code. And I turned PulseGrid into something the market couldn't ignore. By the time I turned 30, I had my first $10 million. But you know what they don't tell you about money? It doesn't warm your bed. It doesn't call you on your birthday. It doesn't dance with you in the kitchen to old Sam Cooke songs at 2 a.m. on a Sunday. Money gives you options. But it can't undo what you lost along the way. I tried to forget her. I really did. But every success reminded me of the one person I wanted to share it with, and couldn't. Then came the night everything changed. It was late September. I was driving back from a tech gala in Manhattan, exhausted by the fake smiles and strategic handshakes. Rain pounded the windshield like machine gun fire, and traffic was crawling. I was debating whether to pull over when I saw her. She was standing at a crosswalk, holding a broken umbrella, soaked to the bone. Her silhouette hadn't changed. Same posture, same stillness, like she was made of calm in a world of chaos. And then I saw them. 2 small figures beside her, twins. A boy and a girl. No more than 7. Same dark curls. Same stubborn jaw. My heart froze. Could it be? I pulled over, stepped out into the rain without even thinking, and called her name. Liana. She turned slowly. Our eyes met for the first time in nearly a decade. And in that single moment, the years, the noise, the heartbreak, everything vanished. But the shock in her eyes wasn't joy. It was fear. She turned back to the children, grabbed their hands, and began to walk away. I chased her. Liana, wait. She stopped, but didn't turn around. Her voice was quiet. You shouldn't be here. I saw you. I had to, are they? They're mine, she said. And that's all you need to know. That night haunted me. Who were those kids? Why did she run? And why, even now, did my chest ache like I was 24 again? I had everything I ever dreamed of. And yet, for the first time in years, I felt like I had nothing. Because sometimes, the greatest success story isn't about the empire you build. It's about the love you almost lost chasing it. I couldn't sleep. I sat in my study, the storm still rattling the windows, staring at the photo I kept in a drawer, her smile, her eyes, that summer we thought we had all the time in the world. Now there were 2 children. Twins. And a look on her face that felt like both recognition and rejection. And the haunting question wouldn't let go. Were they mine? I tried to stay rational, calm. But you don't get to be where I am by sitting still when the stakes are high. So I called in a favor. Marcus, my head of security and longtime friend, owed me more than a few. Find her, I told him. But quietly. No harassment, no pressure. I just need to know where she is. That's it. He nodded, didn't ask why. Marcus never asked why. It only took 2 days. That's the thing about money, it bends time. He handed me a folder and said, she lives in Queens. Works 2 jobs. No social media. Keeps to herself. And the twins? Their names were Luca and Noel. Born 7 years ago. 7 years ago. Right after she left. I drove out to Queens the next morning. No suit. No driver. No ego. Just a hoodie, jeans, and a heart pounding so loud I thought it would explode. I parked across the street from a modest walk-up apartment. Nothing fancy. A rusted mailbox. A flower pot struggling to bloom. But somehow, it felt warmer than my entire penthouse. I waited, unsure what I was even hoping to see, until the front door opened, and there she was. Liana, wearing scrubs, hair tied up, backpack over her shoulder. And right behind her the twins. Luca ran ahead, kicking an invisible soccer ball. Noel held Liana's hand, giggling at something I couldn't hear. My eyes stung just watching them. It hit me then. I'd built an empire out of nothing, fought my way out of hell, chased every impossible dream. And yet I'd missed the one miracle that mattered most.
I didn't approach her that day.
I couldn't.
Not yet.
I needed answers. Not assumptions. So I waited again. That night, I called Marcus. Can you run a paternity test? Discreetly. He hesitated. That's a line, boss. I nodded, even though he couldn't see. I know. But I need to know the truth before I open a door I can't close. 3 days later, I had my answer. They were mine. And just like that, every billion I had meant less than the sound of my daughter's laugh in that rain. But now came the hard part. What do I do with that truth? You see, money can buy attention. It can open doors, silence noise, and even rewrite a few wrongs. But it can't rewrite trust. And I had broken hers a long time ago. The night I left her standing in the hallway. The night I chose spreadsheets over soul. I had no right to storm back in. But I couldn't stay out either. So I wrote a letter. Not an email. Not a text. An actual, handwritten letter. I left it at her doorstep in an envelope with no signature, just a heart drawn in the corner, the way I used to do when we were younger. If I could turn back time, I wouldn't chase the world. I'd chase you. I never stopped loving you. And now I know about Luca and Noel. I don't want to disrupt your life. I just want to make things right. If you're willing, I'll be waiting at the cafe on 17th and Sycamore. The one where we used to split pancakes and dream. Every evening. 6 p.m. for the next 7 days. I didn't know if she'd read it. I didn't know if she'd come. But I had to try. Day 1, I sat at that cafe, nervous, sweating, checking the door every 2 minutes.
She didn't show.
Day 2. Nothing. Day 3. I almost didn't go. By day 4, the staff started recognizing me. The waitress, Eva, whispered, "She must be something special." "She is," I whispered back. Day 5. Rain again. Fitting. And just when I was about to get up and leave, I heard the bell on the door. I turned, and there she was. She didn't sit right away, just stood there, soaked, staring at me with a look I couldn't read. Anger? Pain? Curiosity? I stood too. Liana, she raised a hand. Let me talk first. I nodded, heart hammering. You disappeared. After everything, you just let me walk away. And I waited. I waited for a call, a message, something. I was pregnant and alone, and you were out there chasing a future I was supposed to be part of. Her voice cracked, but she didn't cry. I didn't tell you about them because I didn't want to trap you. I wanted to protect them from disappointment. I couldn't let them grow up feeling unwanted. Tears welled up in my eyes. I never stopped wanting you.
Or them.
I didn't even know. I know, she said, softer this time. I read your letter. She finally sat down. The silence between us was loud, but not hostile, more like a conversation waiting to begin. And in that moment, something shifted. Not in the world, not in the weather, but in me. We talked for hours.
About the past.
About the twins. About the nights she cried herself to sleep, and the days I worked myself numb. About how love sometimes isn't enough to hold two people together, but sometimes, if it's real enough, it finds its way back. When we left the cafe, the rain had stopped. The street was damp, the air warm. I walked her to her car.
She turned to me.
They've never met you. I didn't even tell them your name. I understand. She looked away for a second, then back at me. But I think it's time they did. The next evening, I stood outside her apartment building, palms sweating like a teenager before his first date. It wasn't nerves about her, not anymore. It was the thought of them. Luca and Noelle. My children. My blood. My heartbeat I didn't know was walking around outside my chest for 7 years. She opened the door, and for a moment, we just stared at each other. A quiet nod. A silent agreement. We're doing this. Together. No past arguments, no grand speeches. Just a step forward. I walked into a modest living room filled with warmth. Crayon drawings covered the fridge. A half-finished puzzle sat on the coffee table. There was a light here, one I hadn't felt in all the skyscrapers and suites I'd ever walked through. Luca was the first to peek out from the hallway. Big brown eyes, curly hair, wearing mismatched socks and clutching a worn-out soccer ball. Mom, he asked. She kneeled beside him. Luca, sweetheart, this is someone I want you to meet. He eyed me with cautious curiosity. Noelle followed, a bit more hesitant, but curious. She clutched a drawing, stick figures under a rainbow. When she looked at me, my chest tightened. She looked just like Liana. But those eyes, those were mine. I knelt down. Hi, Luca. Hi, Noelle. I'm Alex. Luca tilted his head. Are you Mom's friend? I paused, smiled. I hope so. The first hour was awkward. Noelle wouldn't talk. Luca kept shooting me questions like a junior detective. What do you do? Why is your car so big? Can you play soccer? Do you like pancakes? Mom loves pancakes. And I answered each one, carefully, honestly, trying not to overwhelm them. Then I asked, want to go to the park this weekend? Just us. They both looked to their mom. She gave a soft nod. If you're okay with it. Luca grinned. Can we get ice cream too? Double scoops, I said. No questions asked. That weekend was the first time I heard them laugh, really laugh, with me. We ran through sprinklers in the park, built sandcastles in the sandbox, and played soccer until my knees ached, and Luca declared me officially not bad for an old guy. When I dropped them off, Noelle hugged me quietly. It wasn't much, but it was everything. Back at my penthouse that night, I stood on the balcony and looked out at the city. I'd seen this view for years. It never moved me. But now I saw it differently, not as a kingdom I'd conquered, but a world I wanted to share. So I started carving out space, not just in my schedule, but in my soul. Tuesday dinners. Sunday mornings. Movie nights with burnt popcorn and animated films I couldn't follow but loved because they curled up next to me. Liana was cautious. She watched from the sidelines, always protective, always weighing whether to let me back in fully. And I understood. She had raised them alone. She had cried alone. She had walked through storms without an umbrella while I stood in conference rooms, pitching dreams.
But now?
I wasn't pitching. I was showing up. 3 months in, we were at the park again, and Luca asked something that stopped me cold. Alex, how come you weren't there when we were born? Noelle looked up from her coloring book. Liana froze. I kneeled beside them. That's a hard question, I said. But you deserve the truth. I looked at Liana. She nodded permission. I didn't know, I said. Your mom and I, we loved each other once. But I made some big mistakes. I got so busy trying to build something, I forgot to protect what I already had. Luca frowned. Like, you were too busy with work? Exactly, I said. Noelle whispered. Did you still love her? I blinked away a tear. Always. Silence. Then Luca asked, do you love us? I didn't hesitate. More than anything I've ever built. More than every dollar I've ever made. You're the best thing I never knew I had. And that was the moment. The moment everything changed. Because sometimes kids know when a heart tells the truth. That night, as I drove Liana home, we sat in silence for a while. But it wasn't heavy. It was full. She finally spoke. They adore you, you know. I adore them, I said.
And you.
She looked out the window. I've spent years imagining this. Wondering if you'd come back, if you'd care, if it would ever matter. I'm here now. I know. The traffic light turned green. We didn't move. Then she said something I'll never forget. They ask about your last name. I tell them yours is different from ours.
They don't know why yet.
I gripped the steering wheel. Would you ever consider letting them take mine? She looked at me, tears in her eyes. If you want to be their father, not just in name, but in presence, in patience, in forgiveness, then yes. They deserve a father who chooses them. I turned to her, my voice barely steady. I already do. Over the next few weeks, things grew closer. Not just with the kids, but with her. Late night talks over tea. Morning calls before school drop-offs. She started calling me when Noelle had nightmares. When Luca got hurt in soccer. When she just needed someone to talk to. And slowly, she started to smile like she used to. Not guarded.
Not forced.
But real. Then came the gala. Every year, my company throws a massive charity event. Celebrities, moguls, red carpet, the whole circus. This time, I asked Liana if she'd be my guest. She hesitated. That's your world. And now it's ours. The night of the gala, she stepped out of her apartment in a simple emerald green dress. No diamonds. No designer tag. But she took my breath away. The cameras flashed when we walked in. Reporters asked, "Who's the mystery woman?" And I answered proudly, "She's the reason I'm still standing." We danced under the chandeliers while people whispered, stared. But all I saw was her. "You know," she said, resting her head on my shoulder, "I never stopped loving you either." That night, I kissed her again for the first time in 8 years. And for the first time in a long, long time, everything felt right. Life didn't shift overnight. But something in me had changed permanently. The boardrooms, the fast-paced negotiations, the endless striving. All of it suddenly felt quieter. Like background music. Because now, I woke up to good morning texts from Noelle, hand-drawn stick figures in the mailroom, and voice notes from Luca pretending to be a sports announcer narrating our Saturday soccer matches. And Liana? She was slowly letting me back in. Not completely. Not blindly. But intentionally.
Carefully.
Which made it even more real. We were rebuilding something from the ashes. Not the same thing we had, but something stronger, more rooted. Love built not on potential, but on presence. Then came the phone call. It was late. I was going through bedtime stories with the twins when my assistant rang. "Alex, sorry to bother you. There's a man here, he says his name is Raymond. He's claiming he's Liana's father." My blood ran cold.
She never talked about him.
I only knew fragments. How he'd walked out when she was young. How he'd reappeared briefly, then vanished again. The one wound she never let me touch. Tell him I'll meet him at the office, I said, hanging up. Raymond looked nothing like I imagined. Graying hair, faded jacket, sun-wrinkled face. He stood like a man trying to appear taller than his guilt. You're Alex, he said, shaking my hand. I am. I heard about the kids. About Liana. I didn't come to cause trouble. Then why are you here? He sighed, glanced at the ceiling, then at me. I'm dying. 3 words. Just like that, the air shifted. I don't have family left. I just want to see my daughter again. Once. Just once. I leaned back. You left her. And now you want in because time's running out. I know how it sounds. I have nothing to offer her, but a few regrets. But I was there when she had the babies. She doesn't know. I was working at the hospital, just as a janitor. I saw her crying in the hallway alone. I wanted to go to her, but I thought maybe she'd be better off without me. I stared at him. You saw her suffering, and you walked away.
He nodded, ashamed.
But I've kept track. I watched over them from a distance. She's stronger than anyone I've ever known. But she's still my daughter.
I didn't know what to say.
But I knew it wasn't my decision to make. That night, I told Liana. We were sitting on her couch, the twins asleep upstairs. Her eyes widened, then hardened.
No.
Just hear me out. He left me, Alex.
Twice.
Do you know how that feels? I buried that pain years ago. I know. But he's not asking for forgiveness. He's asking for a goodbye. She looked away. I gently took her hand. If this was your last chance to say something, anything, what would you want to leave unsaid? Silence. Then, a tear rolled down her cheek. I'd want him to know he broke me, but I still survived. She agreed to meet him on one condition. The kids would stay with me. So I took them to the planetarium, a quiet escape under a ceiling of stars. Luca asked about constellations. Noelle held my hand and whispered, Do you think people become stars when they leave us? I swallowed hard. Maybe. The really special ones, I think. They smiled. And I smiled too. That evening, she came back quiet. I didn't ask what happened. She just stood at the door looking at me until finally she whispered, Thank you. Then she reached into her pocket and handed me something. A photo.
Old. Worn.
Her. Pregnant. Sitting on a bench outside the hospital. And standing in the background, just barely visible, was Raymond. She looked at me, voice trembling. He kept it. After all these years. Sometimes closure doesn't heal. It just softens the sting. Weeks passed. Life settled. We had rhythm now. Family dinners. Homework help. Soccer games. Evenings curled up on the couch with popcorn and movies none of us finished because someone always fell asleep first. And one rainy evening, 8 years to the day since she walked out of my life, I planned something I never thought I'd do again. I took her to the same park where I first saw her with the twins in the rain. It was quiet, empty. The rain was soft, like a memory brushing your cheek. We stood beneath the same tree. I remember this spot, she said. I nodded. Me too. I was terrified that day. I didn't want you to see me like that, wet, worn, alone. You were never alone, I whispered. You just didn't know I was still yours. She smiled, a tear mingling with the rain. And then I did it. I got down on one knee. No ring. No rehearsed speech. Just truth. I don't want to build empires anymore. I want to build breakfast mornings and school drop-offs. I want you.
Them. Us.
Whatever this becomes, I want to be in it fully. Will you marry me? She didn't answer right away. She just pulled me up and kissed me soft, deep, home. The rain danced around us like it remembered the first time too. And when she finally whispered, yes, I swear the city lit up behind her. A few months later, we married quietly. No red carpet, no press. Just us, the twins, and a sky full of blessings. And this time?
She didn't walk away.
She walked toward me. Epilogue. Legacy rewritten. Today, I'm still a billionaire. Still in business. still signing deals and building dreams. But I don't live for the next zero anymore. I live for morning kisses from my wife. For Dad, watch this, from Luca. For Noelle's whispered, can you read me one more story? The man I was back then would have traded all of this for success. The man I am now knows this is success. So, if you're out there chasing something, don't forget who you're running past. Because sometimes the finish line isn't a trophy or a title. It's a woman in the rain, with twins, and a secret that changes everything.